Hello, welcome to Free Grace Bible Study. Thanks for being with me. We're going to do something a little bit unique on this episode. It's going to be a short episode because we're only going to cover one verse. Can you believe that? We're going to look at John 3:16. But before we do that, I want to tell you a little bit about my own history with the verse John 3:16. I grew up in a Bible church. It was a Bible teaching, Bible believing, Bible committed church, and it was a great experience. But for some reason, when I would get to John 3:16, I found it a little distasteful, a little bland, a little bit beneath me. You see, I think I had grown kind of a superiority to John 3:16. I had come to think of it as the verse that you share with children. But it wasn't a verse that adults would talk about seriously because we, adults, talk about more complicated and more complex things. It wasn't until years later that I began to realize the importance of John 3:16. And that has led me to think back on why I used to feel the way I did about that verse. And here's what I think it is. I think I had some bad definitions for some of the words in John 3:16. So, I want to explore the verse, take a simple look at it, and do our best to take it at face value. Rather than being superior, I want to put it in the place where it belongs, as some have called it, the essence of the gospel. And I truly believe now that it is the essence, it is the centermost point of the gospel. It is the best explanation for what God is trying to do in the world. So let's see what it says. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. That's it. It's only a few words, but within those words, it encapsulates the entirety of the importance of the gospel. Let's look at it a line at a time. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. So why did the world need God's Son? Well, the world was in a pretty rough spot. You see, people, the world, had abandoned the original perfection that God created us in, and we had gone chasing after sin and destruction. And so we needed a redemption plan. We needed to be brought back to a place where we were in fellowship with God, but also a place where we no longer were subject to the damage of death that came because of sin. And so God's plan was to send his only begotten Son. And we know, because of the context, that God's only begotten Son is Jesus. So he says, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes. Now this is an incredibly important word, believes. I think when I was younger, I had picked up the idea somewhere that believes means much more than believes. I think people had told me, and I don't remember specifics really, but I think people must have told me that although it looks simple, there's something really complicated about believing. Because when I would read this verse as a younger man, I would just glaze over it and say, I just don't get it. I don't see why it's so important. So here I want to define for us very clearly what it means to believe. In the ancient sense of the word, believe meant to believe. It meant the same thing that we mean when we say something like this. Do you believe that the sky is blue? Do you believe that you are human? Do you believe that your favorite football team won their last football game? Those are questions that you can answer clearly and easily as long as you have the information that's being asked about. That is the sense in which the word believes exists in John 3:16. So when Jesus says that all you have to do to have everlasting life is believe, that's what he means. So a clear working definition of the word believe is this. It is to be convinced that something is true. It is to be persuaded that some proposition that you receive is a truthful statement. And so, to believe in Jesus would be to believe in him for what he's offering you. And as you read the context of the Gospel of John, what you'll see is that he's offering you and me everlasting life based on this one condition, that we believe in him for that free gift. So, look at what it says. Whoever believes in him should not. Now, some people get confused by this and say, well, why is it should? Is it as if it's a conditional statement here? What some translations have done to help us understand this, which I really like, is whoever believes in him will not perish. And that's the sense in which this word appears here. Whoever believes in him will not perish. What does it mean to perish? Well, to perish would mean literally to die. But if you die having not believed in Jesus for his free gift of everlasting life, then the state of death that you find yourself in will be the state of affairs for all eternity. And the reason why I say that is he tells us what the stakes are here, because we find out he's talking about everlasting life. So here, perishing is the opposite of everlasting life. So in a sense, everlasting death is what awaits you if you don't believe in Jesus. So whoever believes in him, that's Jesus, will not perish, but have everlasting life. He's making you this promise. If you believe in him for that free gift of everlasting life, you have it the very moment you believe in it. It's as simple as that. That is why John 3:16 is so incredibly important, because it's simple to understand. Just about anybody in the world can understand it, and anyone in the world can accept this free gift of everlasting life by simply believing in Jesus for it. Thanks for watching. I'll be back with you next time.